Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome to another Perfumery Basics video. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at 3 aroma chemicals, and the theme of today's aroma chemical showcase is going to be about jasmine. Okay, so the first jasmine material we're going to take a look at is called Jasmine Specialty from Firmenich. This smells really good for being 100% synthetic. Now, the 3 materials that we're going to look at today are all completely synthetic materials. So in my opinion, Jasmine Specialty from Firmenich is probably the best jasmine smelling material that I've came across. It is definitely, it's thicker and it has a lot of body to it. And it is slightly sweet and kind of like a, I want to say like a berry kind of nuance, kind of jammy sweets, but not really. It's still 100% just in your face jasmine, a ton of body to it. And it does have this kind of waxiness quality to it. So in my opinion though, of the 3 that we're going to take a look at today, Jasmine Specialty from Firmenich is probably my #1 go-to top pick. If I want a jasmine note in any of my blends, and I'm not using any sort of jasmine absolute or anything like that, because we all know that stuff is god-awful expensive, this would be my first go-to choice. Now, this one does not have any IFRA restrictions, and the way that I like to use this material is I'll pre-dilute it down to 20%. Now, of course, if you're working in much larger trial batches, you can use this neat, but I use much smaller trial batches when I'm blending, usually about 1 gram or less. So I pre-dilute this to 20%. And when I use this though, I have to be careful of how I use this in conjunction with hedione. Actually, all 3 of these materials that we're gonna look at, I'm the same way. Any sort of jasmine floral material, I pay close attention to how I use it with hedione, because if you use too much hedione, which a lot of perfumers love to use in their blends, you're probably going to want to dose this a little bit lower than normal. And then of course on the flip side, if you're going to dose this higher than normal, you're probably going to want to take your hedione lower, because hedione of course is a very transparent, generic, synthetic, jasmine-like smell. But when I use this, I do pre-dilute it down to 20%, and in my formulas, I generally keep this at about 25 to 50 parts per thousand in the formula. So if it's a more supportive floral roll, I'll do 25 parts per thousand. And if it's a more upfront, in-your-face, jasmine kind of theme, I'll go 50 parts per thousand. But again, it really depends on how this plays with hedione in the formula as well. So this is a great one. So let's check out the next material. Okay, so this next material we're going to take a look at now is Jasmatone from Givaudan. This one, right off the bat, I can tell you it smells more potent, but in a more synthetic chemical kind of way. It is a great scent, don't get me wrong, but it's not as good as Jasmine Specialty. This one to me smells a little bit more feminine, a little bit more fruity, leaning more towards peach. You get a fruity peach nuance, which also makes this kind of smell a bit more lactonic than Jasmine Specialty. And when I smell this and I get like a chemical vibe, I'm getting almost like a benzyl acetate kind of odor, which is kind of like nail polish remover, and it's got this like feminine cosmetics kind of vibe, which I'm picking some of that in this. So Jasmatone, it's good. It's definitely sweeter than Jasmine Specialty, but it does have this more of a chemical kind of nuance to it. So again, there's no IFRA restrictions on this. I'll use this the same way I use Jasmine Specialty. I'll pre-dilute it down to 20%. And in the perfume blends or in the formula, again, 25 to 50 parts per thousand, depending on how floral I want it and how it plays along with hedione in the formula. So this is good. It's not great, but if you want a more sweeter side of jasmine, keeping in mind that you will get more of a benzyl acetate kind of chemically odor along nuance with it, it's still a pretty good one. It's not bad. It's pretty good. It's definitely sweeter. So let's check out the last material. Okay, so this last jasmine material we're gonna take a look at is called Sampaquita. I hope I pronounced that right, by Givaudan. Now this is good. This is real good actually. So this is their synthetic rendition of a jasmine sambac. And I can tell you right now, this is definitely softer. It's slightly sweet, but not in the peachy lactonic way of Jasmatone. It's slightly sweet, kind of like the Jasmine Specialty had. And it's more petal-like to me. When I smell this, I smell, instead of like the actual complete flower itself, I'm smelling more of like if you had like a handful of jasmine petals in your hand. So it's very petal-like. And the weird thing is with this, it does have a slight greenness to it. So I'm not sure if when Givaudan made this, they intended it to be like a little bit on the greener side, like it's picking up a slight leaf, but it's very small nuance. So, and I'm also getting when I mean petal-like too, I'm getting a carnation flower kind of nuance too. So it's fresher to me. This one is probably the freshest of the three, but it's also the softest of the three. It's very petal-like, it's very soft, it's very fresh. Definitely a jasmine material, but it has this slight carnation-like kind of twist to it. So it's pretty good. I actually like this one. It would be a nice twist if you want a jasmine-like scent, but a little bit more fresher, a little bit more softer, a little bit more petal-like. No IFRA restrictions on this, and again, I use this, I'll pre-dilute it down to 20%. And in my perfume formulas, again with all three of these, because they're almost all equally the same odor strength, I use this about 25 to 50 parts per thousand in my formulas, again, depending on how floral jasmine do you want in your perfume. So obviously if you're using it as a supportive role, 25 parts per thousand or even less. But if you want it more upfront as like a star featured note, 50 parts per thousand will definitely get you there depending on how this plays along with Hedione, if you're using Hedione in your formula as well. Yeah, so that's Sampaquita, I hope I pronounced it right, by Givaudan. Okay, so that was it. 3 quick and easy jasmine materials that we took a look at today. So if you guys enjoy this style of video, please leave a comment down below and tell me if you want to see certain materials sniffed and reviewed, or if you like certain videos like this where it has a theme where I compare a bunch of materials in that same kind of genre. We can do that as well. Yeah, so with that being said, until next time.